Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday to you, halfway through the week already. So pleased that you're going to join me today for this live with the amazing Zana Morris from Strong Nutrients. I'm literally so thrilled to be working alongside her. She is just amazing. And we're going to be talking about getting into shape with middle-aged, all those hormones that cause you problems and give you that extra. Hang on, I'm just going to see that Zana's requested to join us. Chatting about getting back into shape and all those problems that those hormones can cause us, especially around the middle section. Hello, Zana.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining early, because I hate that when I'm hanging and I'm waffling on.
Oh no, you're very welcome to you.
And I know how busy you are, so thank you so much for this. You're a tough cookie, aren't you? You've put me on a program which I've been doing now for the last few weeks, but also thank you so much for that, because you've been an absolute lifesaver to me, and it is actually the first time that I've been able to lose some of this excess weight that I've been hanging on to now for probably a good 8 years.
Wow.
You know, with my weight going up and down. And this is the first time in a while that actually within sort of 3 weeks, I've already lost that half a stone, haven't I? And when I joined, I said to you that I wanted to lose a stone because there were some complications that I had health-wise, with high blood pressure, borderline, and bloating, serious bloating, and that excess weight around the middle. And so basically you put me on this high fat diet, didn't you, for 8 days at the start, which was tough, I'm not going to lie. And I just thought maybe you can explain why and how that this high fat diet works, because it definitely did work.
Yes. Well, it's all really about metabolic flexibility, as we kind of like to call it. What happens so many when we hit a certain point in life, it's like our bodies become completely inflexible when it comes to metabolizing fats. We are so used to metabolizing sugars, and I mean, we're brought up our whole lives is around metabolizing sugars for energy. And there's a whole argument that says our bodies are designed to metabolize fat. And it seems with so many people, once we hit our late 30s into our 40s, it's like the body can't find the fat. And you could go almost on a starvation plan and the fat sits around the middle. You just can't seem to get at it. The body just looks at it.
I just couldn't shift it, could not shift it at all.
And all the tricks, as you know, all the tricks you've done all your life that just used to work, suddenly don't. The body just won't act. And
even,
so what,
you know, yes, sorry, I was just going to say, because even just kind of the normal 3 times a week exercising, it just wasn't shifting at all, you know, and that excess bloating was really getting me down as well.
All weight around the middle is related to your body releasing too much insulin for whatever reason. And if anybody's listened to me before, you'll have heard me say this time and again, there's multiple reasons for releasing too much insulin, but the end result will always be there's going to end up with fat around the middle, quite frankly. And it's like the body can't seem to flip into burning it. When we go on a high fat diet, now it is obviously, as you know, very, very specific. It's very defined. We're not just throwing fats into the diet. It's very calculated, for want of a better word. But when we go into that, your body does switch into, well, 2 things. One, it switches into burning fat as a fuel. It has to relearn, because there's no sugars going in there, and it has to figure out, what do I do next? And it's like it switches mode, and then it starts learning how to burn the fat as a fuel. So fat drops very quickly. Energy tends to go up because fat's a great fuel. It really does release a lot of energy. And also it flatlines insulin, because fat is the only food group that does not cause your body to release insulin. We all know sugars do, but even protein like fish and meat can cause a little rise, whereas fat doesn't cause any. So you have this lovely flat line of insulin. You're resetting that insulin balance, if you like, and you're retraining your body to become more flexible from a metabolism point of view. It can
because I think my metabolism just completely flatlined, didn't it? And I think that was the whole purpose of resetting it, wasn't it?
Certainly from a fat burning point of view. So your body would burn sugars So your metabolism is what you're burning, the food you're burning for energy. So your body would burn sugars for energy, but it wouldn't burn your fat. It just wouldn't do it. And we've effectively retrained your body to do it. So it's now knows, even after the high fat, it now knows how to switch in and out of fat burning. And we've recalibrated, if you like, we've reset the hormonal balance with the insulin and that. So it's so much easier then to continue. Yeah, you did great. You really did do great.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as I said to you when I first started it was tough. That first few days, I said to you, didn't I? I had a massive headache for a couple of days. But once that passed, I was kind of just in the flow. And then you kind of just sort of said, I was doing so well, let's do it for another 8 days, wasn't it? And I kind of thought, oh, God, but I just did manage it. I mean, by the time that the 2 weeks was up, I was kind of ready to sort of switch in a little bit. I was missing a couple of things, like milk in my cup of tea of an evening, you know, early. And of course, you know, I've kind of changed my plan, but we can go into that in a minute. Obviously you put me on a lot of supplements as well, didn't you? And part of those was to help with, you know, bringing down my blood pressure. But I'd already said to you, hadn't I? Because I've been using the magnesium from Strong Nutrients for quite a while, and I had an experience with the Magnesium Rocks. Honest to God, they are holy grail in my eyes, because I was using them for quite a while, and then I'd run out, and I just didn't continue my supply of them. And I noticed more or less within a couple of weeks how much my menstrual headaches had come back on quite a lot. And I thought, my goodness, what have I done different? Why am I? And then I pinpointed that I wasn't taking the magnesium. I've gone back on the magnesium, even more so since, you know, I've started your plan. And touch wood, I just want to find some wood. My menstrual headaches seem to have, I mean, magnesium, I mean, it's such a vital thing to take, isn't it?
I think it makes such a difference. And I think particularly for women, dare I say, in our sort of age, time in life, stage in life.
I'm sleeping like a baby at the minute. My sleep, I mean, I said to you when I first started, my sleep wasn't too bad, didn't I? It was probably on a 7, getting up to go, you know, a wee in the night, but I don't seem to be doing that now because I'm on the chill pill and the magnesium before I go to bed. I am literally flatlining, and that's it. I'm waking up in the morning, which is fabulous, because, you know, you're set up for the day the next day, aren't you?
Totally.
Also, so that's the Magnesium Rocks. Also, you put me on the pure casein, which, why did you put me on these? Because I was always a bit dubious about these, because I always thought, God, do these make you put on weight? That was
The answer is definitely, well, I'm going to say definitely no, but you will improve your lean body mass, your muscle tone. Protein shakes are literally just whatever they're made of. So it's just the tubs that can be terrifying. So in other words, you can get pea protein, which is just like eating the protein out of lots of peas, and you can get hemp protein.
Because there's so many different ones, isn't there?
You're just taking the protein out of whatever the food is it's made of. It's the container that's scary. Casein.
So what is the casein then?
Yes, so it's the same protein you get in halloumi, in cottage cheese, in yogurt. It's the same protein you get in dairy, but it's just the protein. So you're not getting the fat and you're not getting the lactose. It's just pure protein. And I smile when you think of it. Each gram of protein only has 4 calories in it. So if you take a scoop of a protein shake, you're looking at 120 calories, which is almost like a meal, which is unheard of in a normal meal. So if anything, it's the opposite. But where I love casein is it's very slow release, which means it digests really slowly. You stay fuller for longer, and you don't spike insulin because it breaks down much more slowly. There's naturally occurring sugars within protein. So when a protein breaks down, it breaks into amino acids and sugars. The amino acids are the building blocks. So that's why you get firm. It improves all lean body mass. But any protein can cause a little insulin rise. But a really slow release one means it breaks down so slowly, those very few sugars that naturally occur drip feed into the bloodstream so slowly there's virtually no insulin rise. In English, you lose weight around the tummy much faster. It's much easier to lose belly fat with those.
I think that was a godsend to me, because if I did feel like something sweet, then that's what I turn to, you know, that's what keeps you going. Because obviously I had the vanilla. I mean, you do the chocolate flavour, so you're totally covered for that sweet craving, aren't you, if you do need it, especially at a certain time of the month. So that massively helped me a lot. And yeah, I did have that, you know, that perception that I was going to put on weight with it. But obviously after you explaining that was not the situation, because obviously bodybuilders have it to bulk up and...
Very hard. Honestly, bulking up, as I think we're all beginning to realize, it's very, very, very difficult to bulk up. If it was that easy, honestly, all the young lads would be over the moon. It takes a lot of work to bulk up.
Yeah,
and for
absolutely.
most of us, and you've probably, I'm sure you've heard this before. People have heard variations of this before. We apparently lose around about 0.5 pound of muscle a year from the age of 30. So if between 30 and 50, that's 10 pounds of lean body mass. So if you're a 50-year-old taking protein, you need to gain 10 pounds just to get back to where you were at 30.
Honestly, it's just downhill, isn't it, from 30 for us?
It's not fair. It's not fair. But
so what other flavour do you do in that? Because I know you do the chocolate and the vanilla. Is there another flavour that you do?
There's an unsweetened one. So there's one that's very plain, and which in theory is the best because there's nothing in it apart from just the casein and a little bit of vanilla essence. There's really nothing in it. And it mixes well if you're using it in other things and you don't really want any flavour. Or you add your own flavors to it. Personally, my favorite is, I think, is the chocolate. I like a little bit of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, chocolate would be good in the afternoon if I needed that fix in the afternoon with the chocolate. But chocolate's always been a trigger for me for migraines. So I could never kind of have that on an empty stomach, you know. And obviously, with this plan, I have been fasting as well, haven't I?
Yes.
With you. I mean, what's the benefits of the fasting?
Oh, the fasting.
Maybe you could explain that just very briefly.
We're talking here, just in case anyone's uncertain, we're talking about the intermittent fasting. So from the evening to the following day, ideally about 16 hours. There's huge benefit, and particularly in the back of having done the high fat. Now, you get these benefits anyway, even if you don't do the high fat. But if you do the high fat, you flatline the insulin, your body flips into metabolizing fat as a fuel. Now, when you're doing this intermittent fast, towards the end of the fast, around about the 14th, 15th hour, your body's switching into very similar mode. It helps stabilize the insulin, so it gets that whole hormonal balance calibrated. You're less likely then to put on fat during the day. Your body starts converting fat, so it's now beginning to metabolize fat for fuel, which both means you tend to lose belly fat and you tend to have better energy. So it really helps on a few fronts. And I find if you've done the high fat beforehand, you seem to get even more benefit out of the intermittent fasting, or it's just much, much easier to do. It almost feels more natural. But you get those benefits even without doing a high fat, let's be clear. And they're not dissimilar to the benefit you get in the high fat just for that last kind of couple of hours as you're switching into it.
Yeah, and for me, for anyone who wants to try it, the way I did it was I did it gradually. So, you know, I would say now I don't eat anything after 7 o'clock. Then I'll just have a fruit or peppermint tea. And then I started eating at 10 o'clock. Then I went to 11 o'clock, then 12. And now, you know, I don't eat till 1 o'clock now. So and it's really easy to do. You think, oh my God, I don't think I'm ever going to do that. But you adapt very, very quickly. And and even at 1 o'clock, I don't even seem to be that hungry. And I think it is, you know, process of you obviously telling me what I should be eating protein wise.
Yes. I think that helps a lot. The meal you have the evening before, I always think of your day, your morning, it actually begins with what you did the night before. It really does. If you think it through, I think we can all agree it kind of does. Whatever you do the night before, you'll have an inverted commas the hangover or not the next day, food or otherwise. And if you can get enough protein into that evening and not too much carbohydrate, you will feel fuller the next morning. The protein shake is such a handy way. I've some clients who just take the protein shake as a dessert in the evening. And that just effortlessly then carries them through the next day, through the next morning until they decide to eat.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's amazing, that stuff. And then also the other thing I want to talk to you about is the Amino Slim powder. So obviously you put me on this. So this before you put me on the plan, I did these a while back for the capsules, but I actually prefer the powder because honestly, you put me on so many capsules, but I'm quite glad to have a powder. And at the moment of this, I just put half a teaspoon in about that much water just before I go to bed. Make sure that I haven't eaten, you know, the 2.5 hours prior to that for it to work. So how does this actually work? Can you explain that to me, please?
So the Amino Slim, it's just, the main ingredient is just an amino acid, L-ornithine. And all amino acids have a little bit of a different, they all have a different impact on the body when you take them in isolation away from other amino acids. So amino acids are part of protein. So you get it in an egg. It's just when you take it away from all the others that it has an impact. And some amino acids, oh gosh, they vary. You know, you've got tryptophan, ones that are great for the brain and neurotransmitters. You've got ones that prevent cold sores and the herpes virus. They all have slightly different impacts.
Wow, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, they all. It's quite fascinating. You could investigate just amino acids all on its own.
Is that something we lose as we get older as well? Is that something?
Yes, although this is slightly different. So we lose our lean body mass, which is the protein out of the body. So that's all of the amino acids.
Right.
So when you have all the amino acids together, then you're talking about more of a protein, kind of more solid structure. But each one individually seems to be like little catalysts to help things that work along in the body. And the L-ornithine seems to just support the body's natural process that goes on when we sleep. And when you sleep, there's a natural growth hormone release, and that's the hormone that helps repair, pushes protein back into everything. So one we really want as we get older. It's one we have in abundance when we're kids because everything's growing, but it's one we really want as we get older because it just helps repair everything, be that skin, be that muscle, be that bone density, everything. It just helps, imagine it compacting the protein back in. So it helps, when we sleep, we have a natural release of that. And normally, if our bodies are in balance, our insulin levels would stabilize, our blood sugar levels would stabilize, which means our insulin levels stabilize. So you naturally would be losing fat. Now, the L-ornithine, all it does is get in behind that process. So you firm up a little faster and you lose fat a bit faster, particularly around the tummy. So in a way, it's doing something very similar to doing the high-fat diet, which was to help stabilize the insulin. It's the same reason we're doing the intermittent fasting, which is to help stabilize the insulin. It seems to help. It seems to help that process. But what it certainly does is, from my experience with the clients and customers, is it's the inch loss. I do, and I don't, I obviously encourage people to do everything. My background's the training and the nutrition, just to be clear.
Yes, of course.
Obviously, I like people doing the nutrition and the training as well as the supplements. But I do have a lot of customers who just take the Amino Slim and don't change anything else.
Really?
And you will see a difference.
And you still see it. And I think the beauty with that as well is because you're only having half a teaspoon, you really get a lot in there, and that's going to last you a while. It's really good value for money as well. So I highly recommend that. It doesn't it's a funny old taste in the water, but you soon get used to it. It's kind of, to me, it's a little bit like I was going to say salt water. It's got that kind of, do you know what I mean?
Yes, what a lot of people do is they put it in a little glass of water and then have a little swig of water afterwards. But it seems to depend from one person to the next. I've had people contact me saying, is there something wrong with me? I can't get a taste.
Oh my God. I'm used to it. It doesn't affect me at all now. When I was like, oh, but I'm thinking, no, this is doing good stuff. And I think that's the beauty. Anything that's good doesn't always taste great, is it? Even food-wise.
That's true, and hence is the capsules. But if you're a bit more hardcore about it, I would go the powder. I think it works just a little bit better.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I said, that's going to last a while, isn't it? So basically, obviously, we've got a really tough time coming up with Christmas. There's so many temptations around me, it's ridiculous. Have you got any tips, especially for me and
especially for you?
God help me, without putting something around my mouth and all these mince pies and tipples and everything. Have you got any tips for the festive period?
Well, there's 2 or 3 things I find worked really well. I mean, really well. First is, I'm thinking of this in any particular order. Okay, I'm going to just say in the order comes into my head. So one is not necessarily better than the other. This is just as they're coming into my head. If you can do the intermittent fasting, that really helps, because you do then stabilize, because all those little mince pies and a bit of chocolate here and a little cocktail there, you're constantly increasing your blood sugar levels, and then therefore so your body goes into fat storage mode. Exactly. So the lovely thing about the intermittent fast is it helps reset that. So at least each day you're resetting. You're not waking up and going straight back into that spiral. And that really does make a difference. And that leads to the next thing, which is, if at all possible, don't snack or graze. So in other words, it's almost like nothing's banned, but tag it into more of a meal. So in other words, a mince pie after meal is going to do a lot less damage than a mince pie if you just happen to be walking.
That's fascinating, isn't it? Because obviously I suppose your body's then going into another mode to try and where it's doing it all in one go, isn't it?
It's that, and the other foods will slow down the sugar hit. So if you just have sugar on an empty stomach, it hits the bloodstream hard and fast. You get an insulin spike, and now your body's going into fat storage mode, if you like. If you have it after a meal where there's been protein and fats in there, everything is much slower. So the sugar doesn't hit the bloodstream as quickly. It's much slower, and so there's less of an insulin hit, so it's actually going to cause less damage. And what I get a lot of clients to do is, if they feel like something sweet, I try and encourage them even to do, as simple as a bit of the protein shake or a bit of cheese, something protein based first, and then go for the sweet second. And that really sort of curbs it slows down the insulin hit, so it also curbs the cravings you can get afterwards, because those cravings are caused by a hormone called ghrelin that gets released after the insulin is released. So it sort of stabilizes it. So first rule is intermittent fast if you can. Second is don't graze. If you're going to have something sweet, don't not have it. I mean, great if you don't have to have it, but it's Christmas, you want to enjoy it. So where you can, try and tag it to some protein or other food rather than just having it. And probably the third thing I'd say is try and get the first meal of the day right. Again, if you spike insulin in the morning, it's very hard to get it back down. So you're in a little bit of a fat storage for the day, and you're going to be craving, and you're going to be hungry, and you're going to want to sweet things. So the first meal, if you can keep it protein and fat based as much as possible. So eggs and avocado, or you could have some rye bread with that, your yogurt and nuts, bit of fruit, that kind of thing.
Because we had a little blip, didn't we, when I was first doing, I was eating a little bit too much protein, wasn't I, my first meal? Just
a little bit, and then we adjusted it. So actually, just so people understand that, carbohydrates, so obviously sugars themselves, but then even the starchy carbs to a degree, like your breads, your rice, your pasta, all of those break down into sugars, which cause the insulin rise. But even protein does the same. So too much protein, particularly first thing in the morning, that's going to break down into amino acids and sugars, so your insulin will also go up. And that can slow down fat loss. So you want to keep, from a fat loss point of view around the tummy, you want to keep the protein in the morning lower. So 2 eggs is perfect, that kind of amount.
So because I kind of have like 2 eggs and then an avocado, didn't I?
That's perfect. That will work perfectly. And if you can get that first meal right, bearing in mind breakfast means to break the fast, so it could be 3 in the afternoon. If it's your first meal, it's still a breakfast. You're breaking it. If you can get that first meal right and keep the insulin steady, you get away with so much more in the evening. You really do. And I say that, I suppose I have to say that carefully, but you kind of do.
That's a great tip. And you know, and you've said it on live now that I can have a mince pie.
Yes.
But you know what, I mean, the funny thing is, I don't mind them. I wouldn't eat one every day, so don't panic. It'll probably be just like, you know, one a week ish.
To be honest, it's Christmas. I think when you keep to the little guidelines, Christmas isn't as long a period as we kind of think. Oh yes, I mean, we could start it on the 1st of December, on the 6th of January, of course we could. But for most, it really is a bit more compacted than that. And when you're a little bit mindful, most people tend to do less damage than they think, particularly if you keep to those little tips where you don't just let one day roll into the next, but rather sort of break the cycle for at least a period of the day before it kicks off again. That's
it. I mean, you've got to enjoy yourself too. As I said to you on Saturday, wasn't it? I'm going to go out for dinner, and I did, and and I think, as you say, it's just being mindful, isn't it? And then the next day, think, right, okay, I've done that now. That's gone. So now I'm going to get back into it again.
Yes. And actually, that's a really, really good point you've made there. This is just speaking generally, because so many people kind of worry about, in inverted commas, now I'm cautious of the term diet, because obviously ultimately you're looking to find a rhythm that you can stick to. But so many people think in terms of, I did something for one meal and they panic. One meal is never going to be an issue. It's
No.
really not. It's when one meal goes into 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. The next day is another day. So yeah, never beat
Exactly.
yourself up if you've had a bad day. And I think
Oh,
that's the most
just
important thing,
enjoy
isn't
it.
it? I don't know if there's anything else you want to bring up into this, because I think we've nearly hit the half an hour.
I think you've covered everything
Yeah.
beautifully. I really think you have. I mean, it's that time of year where you just really want to enjoy it. Actually, I was going to add in one more tip, which I think works super well. It's one we used to give to clients in the gym. I give to clients if they've got a gap where they're not getting to do much. One of the really easy things to do is, I don't like this term for obvious reasons, but people are now calling it exercise snacking. I don't like the word snack, so I don't like the word
snacking, right? Okay, sorry, Woody's barking. There's always someone, isn't there, about when you're trying to do a live, and then
Of
the
course
dog
there
starts
is.
barking.
The postman has arrived.
Yeah.
So about 1 minute, if you time yourself, 60 seconds of either squats or press ups, or if you've got weak knees and not that fit, you could just go sitting up and down into a sofa, up and down, as many as you can. Or you could literally lean against a countertop if you're not strong enough to do full press ups, just lean at an incline, at an angle. And time yourself, get as many as you can out in 60 seconds. You'll find your heart rate goes up. You literally have, it has a lovely hit on the body and the body's hormones, and it is a version of high intensity.
And does it matter what time of day that you do that?
Really, no.
Do you know what? Because I literally, it's really funny you saying that, because I've been getting me and the hubby to do that every night for five minutes. I
Brilliant.
say, come on, let's try and do some
Better.
Yeah, yeah. So that's really weird you saying that.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, we're definitely stiffening, getting more stiffer in our old age. So I'm definitely incorporating a lot more.
It makes a difference.
Yeah. And just doing some press ups or whatever.
Yeah, and that's another one. So when we spoke about that growth hormone insulin that happens at night when you sleep, it also occurs, that balance also occurs when we do high intensity training. So you have a similar effect. And you can actually, now you may or may not want to do this, but if you took the Insulin before that 5 minutes, it'll enhance.
Right, okay, I'll definitely do that. Because when I started this, I said to you, I'm not a massive fan of HIIT or exercise. I walk the dogs, and actually I miss my swimming. I need to get back into my swimming. But yeah, I'm not one for high intense exercise. I hate it, I'm not going to lie. So I thought it was going to be a challenge for you, but it doesn't seem to be. I seem to be swimming with this, and I'm so happy. And I can't thank you enough, honestly. And obviously, it's such a hard time of the year to be doing this as well. So there's been a lot of dedication going on.
Honestly, there has, and fair play to you, and I mean that. There really has. You've stuck to it, and I think you'll agree, but you can say whether this is true or not. What people find, because this is about resetting or rebalancing your body, if you like, and getting your body operating more like it should, it becomes quite effortless. It's not willpower.
Yes, yeah. Because even like you've changed my diet now, I feel like sometimes I still want to go onto the high fat. Now, am I okay to do that?
Yes, if you do that, try and stick to it as tightly as you can. And mix up high fat, you're leading into a high calorie diet if there's sugars creeping in there. But you can definitely keep fats in. So we're obviously, we've gone to now without going into that one too much, because that'll probably be another chat. But it's more just common sense where we're getting the fats in, but not to the same degree as when we did the high fat. But in essence, you can. I've had clients stay on the high fat more on an ongoing basis. And in many
I know you said that to me when they first started, and I was thinking, God, I can't believe they do that. But I can understand now them doing that. I actually really can. I think if anyone's got any questions, I will save this video, obviously, to the grid. If anyone's got any further questions, they can pop them in the comments. Strong Nutrients have kindly given me a code. So if there is anything that anybody wants to try, I will pop the code in the captions as well for them. And as I say, I can't recommend them enough, especially the Casein powder, the Magnesium Rocks, the krill oil, and the Amino Slim. Oh, literally all of it, to be honest. You've been a lifesaver, I can't tell you. I'm literally, my blood pressure's come down a little bit as well, so I'm keeping my eye on that. And hopefully, as we think this is all linked with my bad circulation, my bloating's gone down, so that's another thing. I can see my toes now in the shower a little bit more.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Brilliant.
Thank you so much for your time. Honestly, I can't thank you enough. And I could talk to you all day, you know that. But I know you're a busy lady. Lovely. Anyway, you take care, Zana, and I will speak to you on my next catch up with you soon.
Thank
all
you.
right, take care. Thank you everybody for watching. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed it.